Lichen are those mossy or mushroom-looking things that you've seen growing all over trees, rocks, dead wood, even like stone bricks. They're super interesting because they actually aren't organisms. They're a bundle of life forms that lives together, cooperating for survival in a form of mutual symbiosis. They're sometimes even described as like their own mini ecosystems. They're the most extreme form of symbiosis, and it was the study of lichens that first brought the term symbiosis into a biological context. It was actually coined by the German botanist Albert Bernhard Frank, specifically to describe the relationships that fungi and algae could have in the form of lichen. So, lichens are made up of between 2 to 4 different organisms, but some suspect there can actually be more than that as well. There's always a fungal component called the mycobiont, and the other component is called the photobiont, and this is either an alga or a cyanobacterium. And certain lichens will actually use both an algal and a bacterial component, and some lichens will also utilize a yeast component, which is also fungal, but more of a simple single-celled fungi. So the mycobiont produces the structure of the lichen. Myco means fungi, and then the photobiont is responsible for photosynthesizing and creating energy out of sunlight. Photo meaning light. When both these things come together, they create a unique structure, unlike the two individuals, and can live in places that the individuals couldn't. It's been said that lichens are fungi that have developed agriculture, in that the fungi has essentially found a way to grow and harvest energy from its associated algae or cyanobacteria. Basically, the fungal component keeps the photobiont sandwiched inside the structure of its own body, providing it an environment to function and allowing it to photosynthesize and create sugars out of sunlight for the fungi to then use as energy. And this way it doesn't need to slave away by eating wood or leaves like other fungus, and instead can just use the sugars from the photobiont. So lichens don't take anything from the substrate that they're attached to because they don't need to. This symbiotic relationship is beneficial to both of them and makes them extremely robust bundles of life. They're found on every continent on Earth, even Antarctica. They can survive below freezing, sometimes down to negative 40 degrees Celsius. And they can survive without water for some time, and they can go into a state of dormancy. And they've even been taken into space for over 2 weeks, brought back, and they kept photosynthesizing and just doing their thing. The lichen we're looking at here is Xanthoria parietina, known as sunburst lichen. Xanthoria parietina is the name of the fungi, as lichens are defined and classed by their fungal component, which cannot live without their photobiont, though the photobiont can live independently of the mycobiont. In this case, Xanthoria parietina partners with species from the algal genus Trabuxia. This lichen was found along the Merri Creek in Melbourne, though it's known to have been introduced to Australia. The presence of this species is also seen as a bioindicator for good air quality, seeing as lichens have a low tolerance for contaminants in the air. What else is interesting is that regarding the evolution of lichen, research estimates between 4 and 7 separate lineages of lichen evolving independently, and it's suspected that there have since been events of delichenization and even relichenization throughout evolutionary history, so some of these lineages have gotten to the point where they don't need their algal partners, and they've gone back to just being normal independent fungi, and sometimes even rebundled with those algal partners. Despite all the internal relationships that lichens have, they also play an important role in ecosystems in many ways. Many species help enrich nutrient-poor environments by being prominent nitrogen fixers. They can also provide habitats and shelter for small invertebrates, and they're a food source for herbivorous mammals, insects, and mollusks. Lichens may also engage in interspecific competition for more space with mosses or algae, and some can produce substances that inhibit the growth of other organisms. There's also another branch of fungi called lichenicolous fungi, and they're known to have a parasitic relationship with lichens, and they will actually attach themselves to them and harm them. That's all I know about lichens.